Coming up on this episode of The Social Hour, Facebook's adding replies, Amazon buys Goodreads, Yahoo's buying everybody, or so they say, and Flipboard 2.0 is going to let you create your own magazines. All that and let someone else read your snail mail and pay for it up next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Audio bandwidth provided by the new Winamp for Android, featuring wireless sync and one-click iTunes import. Now with free daily music downloads and full-length CD listening parties. Download it for free at winamp.com/Android. Bandwidth for the Social Hour is brought to you by Cashfly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is The Social Hour with Sarah Lane and Amber MacArthur, episode 104, recorded Friday, March 29th, 2013. This episode of The Social Hour is brought to you by 99 Designs, the world's largest online graphic design marketplace. 99 Designs connects businesses seeking quality, affordable designs with a community of 200,000 graphic designers. Visit 99designs.com/social hour to receive a free design consultation. That's 99designs.com/social hour. And by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create a professional website, blog, portfolio, and now an online store. Check out their new commerce solution so you can start selling stuff immediately. For a free trial and 10% off your first purchase on new accounts, go to squarespace.com and use the offer code SOCIALHOUR3. And by Gazelle, the fast and simple way to sell your used gadgets. Find out what your used iPad, Samsung Galaxy, and other smartphones are worth at gazelle.com. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Social Hour. It is episode 104, and I can just tell it's going to be a good one. It's Friday. The sun is shining outside the Twit studio here at Twit World Headquarters in Petaluma, California, and I am still Sarah Lane.
And I am still Amber MacArthur, and the sun is shining here in Toronto. It is absolutely beautiful. I feel like this is our first spring day ever, and tons of people, the birds are chirping. It's a perfect day. And Sarah, I cannot believe how much social media news there is because we have a fabulous lineup, and it's going to be tough to fit it all into the hour.
We too. We do, and me too. I agree. You know, we're both wearing red. We're both happy with the weather. We didn't check on either of these things beforehand, so I feel like our synergy is top-notch today, Amber. I have a very good feeling about the Social Hour today.
It is going to be a great one. So, yeah, tons of stuff going on. And later on the show, I can't wait to play that voicemail we got from one of our viewers or subscribers. It's a goodie.
Yeah, it is a goodie. I agree. All right, well, let's start off with some news in no particular order. This is kind of big news, at least for me. Facebook has added threaded comments and replies to Facebook pages and certain Facebook profiles. I believe it's Facebook profiles that have 10,000 or more subscribers, people who follow a particular profile, which is something that you can do on profiles. That was actually an image of my own because I have enough followers or subscribers. This is actually a feature that got turned on for me. I believe for pages, it's something that you have to opt into, and then it'll automatically be turned on in a couple of months. It's interesting. I basically had posted the other day, hey, I'm looking forward to threaded comments, just kind of to see what it all looked like. And sure enough, there are absolutely, if someone comments on my post on Facebook, then you can see an indentation where then I reply. There's only 1 degree, though, of threading, right? So I can reply, and then no one can actually really reply to me. We're just sort of replying to that first post. Now, as far as threaded comments, what we see is a variety of comments that have risen to the top for one reason or another, and then I can go ahead and expand down below and see all of the comments that were made. It's a step in the right direction. A couple people in this particular thread had said, well, yeah, okay, we've got another level of commenting, but this is still kind of a mess. And I tend to agree, Amber. I think this is a step in the right direction, but it's not as if all of a sudden posts that have a lot of comments suddenly look a lot more beautiful and organized.
Yeah, I'm super happy about this. I think it makes total sense. I've found it frustrating before when you weren't able to follow a conversation. So I think for the average person, if you eventually get this, I think they'll be very helpful or happy about it, just to be able to have something like threaded comments. And it could be better, but I think this is a great step in the right direction. So a good move on their part, because I always hated the experience before when you were trying to track down a conversation and keep up to date with it. It was never that easy. So this is a good thing for Facebook. And we don't always have positive Facebook news on the show.
No, that's true. Yeah, I mean, in the past, it would be something like if you had replied to something that I had written, and then, I don't know, 4 people reply after you, then I've got to make sure that I've got your name in my reply so that it is clear who I'm responding to. It was definitely a broken system, so step in the right direction. I have seen a few people say, well, why are threaded comments only going to be turned on for people who have a certain minimum of subscribers? What's that all about? I figure it's probably just Facebook saying this is a slow rollout and we're going to give the feature at first to people who have the biggest problem with this, because if you have more followers, then you would historically just have more comments overall. But it does seem a little like, I can see where people get their feathers ruffled a little bit. Like, well, why do people who have bigger followings get more rewarded?
I also find it interesting because so many times we've seen in the past on Facebook how they will roll out a feature and you'll automatically be opted into that feature. So you have no control over turning it off. You have to go back in and decide that you don't want that necessarily. But this one, they've kind of done it the other way around, where I feel like it's the least offensive thing that Facebook has rolled out in the past. Doesn't really threaten your privacy or security. And it just seems like something everybody would want. So I totally agree. It's not great that just a select few get it right now, but I'm imagining that it won't be long before everybody will have something like this.
So what's the deal that I hear about Facebook also testing a post from any page button?
Yeah, this is a tiny little thing, so I don't think it's going to make a huge difference for people, but the idea being that when you are on someone else's Facebook page, you would be able to compose a post from that page. Again, seems like a feature maybe they should have had before, and I think people will probably use this. So you don't necessarily have to go back to your own page to be able to post something. You can do the composing right there if you're browsing other people's sites or pages and want a chance to do it kind of on the fly. So again, I think this makes sense for Facebook, and it's a good feature.
Yeah, good for Facebook. Looking more like Google Plus every day.
It is. That is a really good point.
Yeah. We actually have some Google Plus updates. But first, we should probably talk about Amazon buying Goodreads. This was something that I guess it was big news yesterday afternoon. And there's been some discussion about how much exactly Amazon paid for Goodreads. Business Week said maybe up to $1 billion. All Things D is saying no, it's closer to 150 to 200 million. So there's a huge discrepancy as far as how much was paid and how much of it is cash versus stock options and so on. But what we do know, at least coming from Amazon and Goodreads, is that yes, Amazon has acquired Goodreads. Goodreads is a social book sharing and conversation site. So certainly a social property for Amazon. It's not Amazon's first social property. Back last year, or was it 2011? They bought another social book site, and now, of course, the name is escaping me. Amber, do you remember which one I'm talking about?
Is it Shelfari?
Yeah, Shelfari, exactly. Okay. So it sounds like something that Amazon is, wanting to take a little bit more seriously. Both companies say that Goodreads will continue to operate independently, which is great news, and also something that I tend to feel comfortable with, because Amazon owns Zappos. Zappos seems to do just fine as an Amazon property that has really retained its own identity. Amazon owns IMDb. We were talking about that on Tech News Today earlier today. A lot of people just forget that because IMDb doesn't really have a lot of Amazon branding. Same thing with Audible. Amber, what do you think? Is this a win for both parties?
I think it seems like it is a win. It's been funny over the past little while on the social hour, because we've had people like Guy Kawasaki on the show talking about the future of publishing. And it's interesting how quickly people can kind of manipulate the system. For example, just in this article from the New York Times, they mention on Amazon that there were many cases of authors going in and perhaps deleting recommendations that had been made. And so it seemed like the Amazon community in some ways just wasn't as authentic as it was one day, perhaps, Whereas I think what they're getting with Goodreads, like you said, is really this independent community of people who love books and have lists of books that they recommend. And it seems like it hasn't been tainted yet. So I think that's great, especially for people like Guy who are starting to self-publish, and they have this whole other outlet to be able to kind of cater to that audience. So should be pretty interesting, and it seems like it's a perfect fit, and hopefully they don't mess with it too much. But doesn't seem like you said like they will at all.
Yeah, I mean, Goodreads has a good thing. I mean, Amazon wants to buy the property because it's successful. Well, I say that, and we can always point to instances where larger companies buy smaller companies and then ruin them or fold them or something, and then we're all upset about it. But yeah, this seems like Amazon has got a rating system. Goodreads has a very lively, active community, and Amazon can benefit from both. I mean, as long as we're buying books from Amazon, they want to make sure that we have an incentive to buy as many books as possible. And if Amber and I are chatting on Goodreads about a book and you convince me that it's great, then Amazon wins. So I think really this is it's kind of a win for readers in general, because Amazon is where we buy so much of our ebooks anyway. Well, some of us, and yeah, Goodreads is a great property. I know that I am sort of a casual Goodreads user, but there are a lot of people who organize book clubs around Goodreads, and I know Tom Merritt and Veronica Belmont have their Sword and Laser book club that they use Goodreads for. So it's definitely a platform that people take seriously, and Amazon does too.
Yeah, definitely. And Sarah, you mentioned off the top of the show a little chat about Google+. I know we have a couple of items from Google+. I feel as though I've been using Google+ more over the past few weeks. I kind of promised that on a past episode. How are you doing, Sarah?
I have logged into Google+. Well, I say logged into Google+. I'm always logged into Google, so it's sort of always there as a tab. But yes, Amber, I actually spent quite a bit of time this week looking through my feed. There were some Google+ suggestions for people that would you like to have them in your circles, and they were like great friends of mine or people that I admire. So I did some curation, and yeah, I actually I put some effort into it as well, and I dare say I had a pretty good time.
Right. It's funny. If I actually compare Google+ right now to Facebook, I feel like I'm getting almost a better experience on Google+, and maybe even using it more. So that's been kind of a big shift over the past few weeks for me. Anyhow, for people who use the app, the Google+ app, you'll be happy to know that they've updated their mobile apps with photo filters as well as location sharing. So just a better experience overall, allowing you to do things like add filters to your photos. I mean, it seems like you should be able to do that anyway, but now that's something that they offer up within the app itself. So maybe that will encourage more people to use the service. Because I have to say, I've been using the Android app for a while, and I mean, it's beautiful. It's a really seamless experience, and definitely if they could capture people through the mobile experience, I think that would be something that would be appealing to a lot of people.
So yeah, so Google+ updating their mobile apps with photo filters and location sharing. Okay, well, photo filters, you kind of got to laugh. Everybody's got to do it these days. If you don't have photo filters, you're just not even an actual player anymore. So whether or not you care about photo filters, I think location sharing is pretty big. Google is interested in collecting data on all of us. This is something that a variety of other apps do, but also I would say arguably Google Plus's biggest competitor, Facebook, has been in the location sharing game for a long time. Amber, if you and I go out to Mexican food, I can easily tag where we are and that I'm with you and post it to Facebook. That's not actually something I use Facebook for all that much because, again, I've mentioned in the past, I tend to stick with mobile apps that are dedicated to location. For some reason, it feels like it makes more sense to me. And then I can always tie into Facebook selectively if I want to. But what do you think? What do you think about this?
Well, I think the interesting thing about the location feature, Sarah, is the fact that you can target that at specific circles. And I mean, I think that's something on Google Plus that we haven't really talked about in a while, but really that's one of the most fabulous features about Google Plus is if you really take advantage of those different circles. So, you know, I have a family circle, I have an internet friend circle, I have a business circle. So it's really great to be able to target messages to those people. So when it comes to location services, if I know I can target that more specifically to a group, I think that makes the location aspect that much more enticing to someone like me who maybe doesn't want to share a location with everybody. So I think that makes it a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And it also incentivizes all of us to take our circles seriously. I mean, if there is a circle of people that are, you absolutely have no problem sharing with them where you are at any given time, yeah, you know, take that seriously and put it to good use so that you can take advantage of Google Plus features, but not feel like you're oversharing. Because that's something that you can do that on Facebook as well. But it's never been implemented in a way that I feel the public at large is comfortable with, Amber. I think that's a big reason why you still have people saying vehemently, I do not use Facebook, I don't want anything to do with it. Because the permission settings are sometimes really murky.
Yes. Very murky. I would totally agree with you. Now, Sarah, speaking of Google Plus, we have another piece of news here, and I don't know if I want to laugh or cry, especially because I find animated GIFs can get a little old very quickly. And now on your Google Plus profile, if you choose to, you can have an animated GIF as your profile photo. Oh, I don't know what to say. I think this is one of those things where animated GIFs have a time and a place, and I'm not sure a profile photo is it.
I don't think so either. And this is actually something I have been, you know, I don't want to say that I'm so bent out of shape about it because in general, I think that animated GIFs are kind of fun. And I know that there's a lot of memes and this and that, but animated GIFs are something that Tumblr has allowed for years. And there are a few people who have animated GIFs as their profile picture on Tumblr that show up in my dashboard because my dashboard it's sort of the way that, you know, it's your Tumblr feed, which is what Tumblr calls it. And that's something that, you know, I'm seeing move on a regular basis every time I'm in my dashboard. I've sort of learned to not see it, but it is distracting. And I feel like a profile picture, because it's so front and center and people see it so often, is maybe not the best place to be like, look at me, I'm moving, I'm flashing.
It's too much. I mean, it was bad enough that the profile pictures got as large as they did recently, which I found extremely disturbing. And I still haven't found the perfect picture for that. But then all of a sudden, the ability to see animated GIFs. I mean, one thing that I've always loved about Google Plus, since they launched not that long ago, really, in internet years, is that they were so simple. You know, the experience on Google Plus was very streamlined. It was very clean. And I think when you start to muddy things up with animated GIFs and giving people too many options, it kind of takes away from that experience that I think they did such a great job in terms of creating it as being really user-friendly. So this is one of those features I could definitely do without, and I don't think I'll be creating an animated GIF anytime soon. Sarah?
I definitely won't either, not for a profile picture. And you're right, that it kind of takes away from the overall clean design, doesn't it? Because there's no uniformity. I mean, of course, profile pictures are supposed to reflect our own personalities and moods, and we can choose whatever we want. But if some are moving and some are not, then it just doesn't make for a product that I feel seems to be, I don't know, harmonious, I guess. But who knows? Maybe we're looking too much into it. There are a few people in chat that say, animated GIFs. I turn off all that stuff. I mute those posts on Google+. I don't like them. I think that there are some animated GIFs that I laugh at here and there. Tumblr in particular is full of them, or at least the people that I follow on Tumblr. There was one about a cat that got stuck in a fishbowl the other day, and I watched it for a good several minutes, over and over, on loop. But no profile pics. I say no.
Sarah, I think we need like a cat drinking game on the show. See how long it is before you mention cats, because now we're about 25 minutes in.
and I've mentioned it. Yep.
Yeah, you did it. You did it. It's awesome.
Cat and fishbowl. Come on. You don't see that every day.
That combo does not always happen on the show. So
that's true.
So see, we said it was going to be a special show, and there you go.
That's exactly
just one
right.
reason why.
Speaking of special, well, I don't know. That's a weird introduction to Yahoo. Yahoo is special. Hey, they're a special company with special needs and special desires. Yahoo, there's been a rumor floating around for about a week now, really, Amber. It just narrowly missed being included in our show last week. The Yahoo may want to purchase Dailymotion. Now, Dailymotion, if you're not familiar, Dailymotion's been around a long time. It's basically an aggregated video site. Dailymotion is where I've seen a lot of funny cat videos, for example, but it's got some credibility as far as being around. It's a brand name that people are familiar with. I guess you could consider it a YouTube competitor. YouTube is wildly larger by a big margin. Amber, what do you think? What do you think Yahoo would do with a property like Dailymotion, assuming that this deal goes through?
Well, based on this article on Business Insider, it seems like many people are speculating that perhaps Yahoo does want to have more content that they can serve up ads on. So different platforms where they're able to say, hey, we have with this great video platform, and this is a great advertising opportunity. So I think in that sense, it makes it makes sense for Yahoo to do this. Also, based on the article, or a lot of people are saying that Marissa Mayer has this interesting play that focuses on just creating and acquiring more content sites. And some people are actually worried that she's going away from what has been their core business for a while in terms of the ad business and some of their other products as well. So I don't know, it seems like this week we've had a lot of headlines about Yahoo throwing a lot of money in different directions. So I'm sure all those people who can't work from home anymore because they're not being effective are maybe a little disgruntled.
Yeah, this has been Yahoo is very fascinating, at least around the studio here at Twit. We're always sort of talking about, what's Marissa Mayer going to be doing? And she's kind of fascinating, and she has such a good track record, but Yahoo's such a troubled company in so many ways. So it's like, all right, well, Dailymotion, you figure, let's say they fold Dailymotion into Yahoo, so you've got some sort of, you've got Yahoo News, you've got Yahoo user-generated content, you've got viral videos, all of that kind of makes sense. It also seems to present yet more challenges for what does Yahoo do exactly? What is the focus of the company? And I know that Ms. Mayer is working hard on changing the perception of the company to outsiders, but it's a bit of a head scratcher. What Yahoo did purchase, and this is a done deal, is a mobile app company called Sumly. This is actually a service I showed off on i5. Gosh, I don't know. At least a month ago now. This is, Amber, I don't know if you're familiar with Sumly, but for anybody who isn't, it's an app that will attempt to summarize the news for you, a variety of news sources. So basically, if there's a story about Cyprus and the bank collapse, well, there might be 13 logical, reasonable stories that are full of facts. Sumly would take all that information, algorithmically kind of pull out what key details of this overall story is, and then present you with a synopsis so that me on the go, reading a bunch of news, on my mobile device, I get an accurate summary of what's going on in the news, and then I can go ahead and say, okay, so now I know I'd like to read article X because I want to know from this specific source more about that angle. But it kind of takes the editorial out of news and provides us with just the facts, with an opportunity to get more information if we want to. It's not the only company to do this, but it got a lot of attention because the founder of Sumly, when he started the company, was only 15. He's 17 now, so he's still extremely young. He's going to become a Yahoo employee who's gotten quite a bit of money. Yahoo reportedly paid about $30 million for Sumly, and Sumly has not been around that long. I think it launched at least to the public in November of 2012. Does this seem like a good fit, Amber? Yahoo News is something that Yahoo does have as one of its strong properties.
I don't know. Again, I'm just going to go back to what I probably said before when we've talked about acquisitions for this much money and often more money. But in this case, it seems like an awful lot for what they're getting. And I know there have been people like the article you put in the rundown, technologists talking about how there was the technology created really wasn't necessarily that revolutionary. Was it worth $30 million? I don't see it. But obviously, it's a case like many people have admitted that Yahoo is acquiring talent. And so it's a pure talent play. Based on them buying this particular app and having that young kid coming to work for them. So I don't know, seems like too much money. $30 million, Sarah, you could do a lot with that money. You could hire a lot of people, create a lot of cool apps that were maybe Yahoo apps that did even more interesting things than that.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like $30 million. You go, ooh, that's a lot. And then you think, well, Instagram for $1 billion, put that in perspective, and all of a sudden I'm saying $30 million, it's not that great. But yeah, it's certainly a lot of money. And there's a lot of emphasis on Sumly's founder. He's 17 years old. He's got a long illustrious career in front of him. He's even said, I believe it's, you know, his deal is to stay 18 months at minimum, something like that. And then so you sort of feel like, yeah, it's they want, maybe there is a little bit of a perception of, we've got young up-and-comers that are part of the Yahoo team. That looks good for a company that seems a little long in the tooth to some of us. But at the same time, they can not necessarily, it's not necessarily so much about somebody's technology as it is about the minds behind it.
The real question is, Sarah, will this kid be allowed to work from home?
Yeah, right? Well, he lives in the UK, so assuming he doesn't want to relocate to Mountain View.
What's going to happen?
Well, maybe they got a London office. I'm sure they do. Maybe more than
perhaps.
one. But yeah, hey, the rules should be the same. If 17-year-olds at Yahoo get to work from home, well, then maybe everybody should. No, just kidding. That's a whole nother can of worms that we've opened and we don't know how to close it.
We don't know how to close. You know, the thing is, though, I think with this news, there are times over the past few weeks where I've thought to myself, you know, with Yahoo being in the headlines so much, you know, is this just a play to get the media talking about Yahoo and making people think they're you know, a big player again, right? So with this headline, I don't know. Who knows what they'll do next week, Sarah, but we'll stay on top of it.
Yes, we absolutely will. Another social network, a smaller social network, Vine, that was scooped up by a larger social network, Twitter. This is, of course, the not quite animated GIFs, but short, loopable videos that max out at 6 seconds, where you can shoot a variety of sources. Vine. Vine has gotten a little bit of an update on its iOS app. Sorry to everyone else that is not on iOS. But Vine has launched web embeds and also has updated the iOS app to be able to share other people's videos via Twitter and Facebook. So, of course, if I take a Vine right now of the show that we're doing, well, now I have to, because I said if I do that, and now I'm like, oh, that'll be a good Vine, because I haven't Vined in a million years because I don't actually think it's very interesting. Then I can go ahead and share that via, that's not C-I-N-E, it's not going to get me anywhere. What's wrong with V-I-N-E? There you are. I have so many apps I have to search every time I launch anything, Amber. But now, so I could always do that, but now if you share something and I think it's great, now I can go ahead and tweet that and Facebook that out as well. Amber, I hate this idea. And the reason I hate this idea is because Vine links, although I think they've definitely dwindled from when Vine publicly launched as a Twitter property a couple of months ago, they're still too all over my Twitter feed. I really don't see much of them on Facebook at all. But on Twitter, I see Vine links and I never click on them because it's too much of a commitment, even 6 seconds. And a lot of times, after the 6 seconds are over, I'm like, so somebody was on a walk and they took some pictures of, like, you know, the waves lapping on the shore and, you know, their dog running. Yeah. And it's like, it's not very compelling.
I think the only Vines that I've been clicking on recently are Vines that are in the digital marketing space, because sometimes when Vines are done really well, and we saw that recently with, I can't remember what movie it was, maybe X-Men or something like that, where they did a Vine to promote the new movie, then I'll click on that because I know that it's done well. But I think what's happening with Vine so much is that so many people kind of suck at shooting these little videos that they just don't make sense and they're not coherent. And it reminds me of the early days of people taking photos on their cameras and how the quality wasn't there. So I think Vine needs to mature quite a bit, and so do the video skills of many of the users. Myself included.
Totally. I mean, I just took a Vine. You're all going to see it momentarily. And, you know, it's not really very interesting. It just isn't. And I'm not going to post it to Twitter because I don't feel that I'm adding any value to anybody's. I don't know. It's just, I am bearish on Vine's longevity. I don't know what exactly it needs. It's like, yes, do we all have to become better creators? That's a lot to ask of your audience.
Oh, yeah.
I can't see that their user base is I'd be very surprised to hear that their user base is not just growing, but even staying stable. I think that from what I can see, it's a It's a tool that's nice to have, but certainly not something that I'm checking on a regular basis.
Yeah,
and
not an everyday thing.
Yeah, and if there are people out there who say, Amber and Sarah, you're just missing the point, do let us know, because this, of course, is a conversation between all of us. Certainly not just Amber and I saying, telling it like it is. But I guess, Amber, that's part of this, right? If I can now share your latest Vine because I think it's really cool or whatever, the way that, I don't know, some people share each other's Instagrams or Flickr photos or retweets, that's all behavior that we're kind of used to. Like, hey, kudos to you. I'm going to go ahead and share that with my audience. That just gets Vine in front of people who might not know that it existed otherwise. So, bit of a marketing play on their part. Yeah,
definitely. So it'll be around for a while, but just needs to mature.
Exactly. Hey, so I mentioned that do let us know if you disagree with us about anything that we talk about, or if you agree with us, or if you have feedback or ideas or anything. Email us at thesocialhour@twit.tv. That's probably the easiest way to get a hold of us, but you can tweet at us or all sorts of ways to conversate with Amber and I. Quick reminder that we record the Social Hour live on Fridays at 4 p.m. Eastern. That's Amber's time zone, and 1 p.m. Pacific. That's my time zone, and a lot of UTC zones that Leo's really good at that I never seem to be able to remember. And our website is twit.tv/TSH. What can you find there, you say, you ask plaintively. What is that all about? Well, that's actually where all of our show archives live. So any show, video, an audio feed, embedded video if you just want to watch right from an episode page. If we had a guest, Leo Siegel from Prizio last week. It was a really, really great interview. He had a lot of interesting things to say about the charity market and disrupting the charity market. But Amber and I also talked about a lot of other stuff, and all of those links we try to add on each of our episode pages so that you can follow along after the fact. You might be watching the show on demand and you like to do some following up. So everything that relates to our show is at twit.tv/TSH. The best way really to keep up with us is to subscribe. If you subscribe, then you get the video or the audio feed if you choose just to listen to us rather than watch, delivered to you with the RSS feed tool of your choice. And we thank everybody for watching and participating with us each week. All right, Amber, before we get into some of our tips and our spotlights for the week, we want to thank 99 Designs for sponsoring this episode of The Social Hour. I am not a creative person when it comes to designing things for the web. It's never something that I felt I was good at. So what happens is that every once in a while when I need something done, maybe I'm redesigning my site or I've got a new logo or a header that maybe I want to put some thought into, I kind of go, oh gosh, who do I know that might have time to help me out? I don't know. And if you try to just blindly find people on the internet, sometimes you don't know them, or their portfolios are weird, or they're really expensive, and you don't really know what you're doing, and that's why 99 Designs is out there. They're connecting people like me with great graphic designers out there to create fast and affordable graphic designs. So what I do is I say, hey, 99 Designs, I'm going to start a food blog, right? I want a really cool header that somehow has an image of me and reflects what the blog is going to be about, and maybe it's like a collage of stuff, and you get dozens of designers from the 99 Designs community that say, oh yeah, I like this idea. I think I can give Sarah what she wants. And they submit quality designs that are created just for me. Then I give the designers some feedback. I say, oh, I really like this, but maybe maybe the cupcake should be on the left rather than the right type of a thing. Then they refine their designs. And then you or me select and pay for the one that I like the most. It's really cool. There are a lot of graphic designers that work at 99 Designs, by the way. This isn't like 5 or 10. There's over 200,000 of them, and they're available worldwide to work on your project. 99 Designs also has great customer support 24/7. So if you've got questions, you've got follow-up, you're on a deadline, you can get a hold of somebody. They've got design consultations with their San Francisco design team for branding needs. And there's a 100% money-back guarantee. So you don't have to worry about being on the hook to end up working with a designer that you're really not happy with, and you walk away with something that you didn't want in the first place. You can be confident that you're going to get what you want, and you've got that guarantee. Logo design, landing pages, Facebook cover design, infographics, greeting cards, menus. You can really get creative with this stuff. There are a lot of reasons you might need a designer, and luckily 99 Designs has a lot of good ones. So you can start right now for as low as $199 for your own custom graphic design, something that looks really, really good that you can be proud of. And if you visit 99designs.com/social hour, you will get something for free. It's a valued $99 power pack of services. Gives you more designer time and attention, so you get a little bit, you get to be kind of the popular kid. 99 Designs will bold and highlight and feature your design project in their marketplace, and you'll get nearly twice as many designs. So this is a really cool feature, and that's totally free if you go to 99designs.com/social hour. If you want more information, you can also call 1-800-513-1678. That's a number just for Twit listeners. So you guys have your own line into 99 Designs. I'll give you the number again: 800-513-1678. 800-513-1678. See, I said it 3 different times. Hopefully you got it once. And we thank them for sponsoring this episode of The Social Hour. All right, Amber, you got a social tip here. This is a service I've not heard before, something called Snappy Photos.
Yeah, so this is for Android users, and I know there are a lot of you out there. I also use an Android phone, and I had not heard of Snappy, but basically what you can do with Snappy, it's an app, and this will work as well in Chrome as an extension. And the idea being that all of the photos that you take on your phone, you can then have access to them within Chrome. So I really like this idea, Sarah, because I can't tell you how often I have pictures on my phone that I want to quickly access or email, and sure, it seems simple to go on the phone and email a bunch of them, but I always forget. So I love the idea of having this access across different devices like that. So a handy little tip and easy to use.
Well, I love that. That's good stuff, and it should make some of you Android users happy, because I know sometimes you say, you guys, you got to be cross-platform, platform agnostic. Snappy Photos, that's awesome. That's handy stuff. In fact, we have another Chrome toolbar little bonus social tip.
Ooh.
Yeah, because Flipboard, Amber, as you might have enjoyed, has received a little update. We've got Flipboard 2.0 that allows any of us who are Flipboard users to now create our own magazines. Well, okay, so this is actually for iOS users, but Android versions are coming soon, Flipboard assures us. What's neat about this is that Flipboard works pretty much as it always has, but when I am sort of going through my feeds that I have on Flipboard, Curbed is a property that I love because it's they have regional blogs, and this is sort of has to do with real estate and what's being built and sort of city plans for a variety of metropolitan areas. So I read the San Francisco feed of Curbed. Now, if I see anything that I really like, so I've got rental opening day, movie day, rentals near the ballpark. Ooh, okay, that's interesting. I have a lot of people that are always interested in rentals. I can go ahead and hit that little plus sign. And now, and there's plus signs on each article that you'll see across Flipboard for anything that you subscribe to. Now I can say, oh, all right, well, where do you want to flip this into? Do you want to create a magazine, maybe something that's dedicated completely to real estate? Or would you like to add it to something that you've already created? I've got a magazine that I created on iPad Today yesterday called Sarah Swoons. It's all about stuff that I'm swooning over. As you can see, there's a picture of carrot cake in there because that's the sort of thing that makes me swoon. Rental market. I don't know that I'm swooning over it. I just think it's kind of interesting. So maybe I create a new magazine and I call it Houses. That's what I'll call it. It's not a very good title, but I'll go ahead and say create. And now I've got a couple of different magazines, and it'll propagate a little screenshot in a second. So Amber, do you like this idea? Do you think that Flipboard was lacking sort of personal curated magazines? Is there anybody that you would like to subscribe to I assure you, my houses feed probably isn't the most dynamic of all of them, but what do you think about this?
I think that's cool. You know, I think it makes sense. I think people love to be able to store information like this. They like the personalized touch that this added as well. So I think it's kind of fun. I memean, I think that's the future of so many different content services online, is just adding that personalization factor. So a cool little bookmarklet too.
Yeah, very cool. Now, when you subscribe to someone's feed, by the way, it ends up showing up in your cover stories area. And I'm subscribing to myself, so that's a little silly. But cover stories, of course, is sort of an aggregate of a lot of the different. That's such a cute picture that Renee Ritchie on MacBreak Weekly shared. Oh, I know where he is too, because he's in town for GDC. But yeah, so I think this makes a lot of sense, and I think that it'll be interesting to see who. Amber, you and I definitely have our sort of favorite people who have a real knack for finding cool stuff on the internet. You know, Jason Cocky always comes to mind as like one of those people where it's like you just have a gift. You can find all the cool stuff, and that's where people want to go back regularly. Flipboard is just a different way to access people like that, as long as this is something that catches on. And I mentioned that there is a toolbar component of this as well. So yeah, you can, if you want to be adding to your own magazine on the fly, there is a bookmarklet. Flipboard has a bookmarklet at share.flipboard.com that you can go ahead and add to. I've added it to my Chrome toolbar. So when I find stuff around the web, I can flip it from the web. So I don't have to be inside Flipboard. I can be adding to it from outside, which is something that I do on Tumblr quite often, and that sort of opens this up a lot. So if you say, well, you really use Flipboard mostly for reading, not for curating, you can be curating during the day, and whoever's subscribing to you can be reading it in Flipboard later on. So I think this is a pretty solid update.
Very cool. Sarah, now, I don't know about you, but I sometimes, I don't read comic books anymore, but I definitely had a brother who had lots of comic books. I always, think it's kind of fun to follow along with what's happening in that industry. And most recently, I stumbled across this article on TechCrunch about a new comic book that is centered around an internet superhero, if we can call him that, Jack Dorsey, the co-founder of Twitter and also of Square. And this is a comic book kind of based on him, where he does play this guy who's on the hunt for the kidnapped inventor of the futuristic computer chip that could power the internet's next evolution. So kind of fun.
It's funny too. It's not as if we're all saying, "Ooh, this is obviously based on Jack Dorsey." I mean, they're calling him Jack Dorsey. He is the superhero, for sure. In the comic.
And it's funny because I remember in the early days of podcasting, when we put out our podcast Command N, I think it was about a year old, there was a comic book illustrator in New York who had included the Command N logo in an actual print issue of The Adventures of Superman.
Cool.
And so all of a sudden we have, this one panel where all of these kids are wearing a Command N logo on their jackets because he was a fan of the podcast. And we all got that framed. And I think that was the highlight of my professional career. I don't know what that means.
No, I think
coolest thing to ever have happened.
Hey, listen, that's a pretty good one. It's not as if the highlight of your professional career was that day you got, some chocolate ice cream down by the wharf. I mean, that's pretty cool to be in a comic, especially one that's so highly regarded.
Yes.
I think this whole Jack Dorsey thing, and I don't know him personally, but I obviously am a very enthusiastic Twitter user, and I also follow Square, his other company that he founded and is CEO of, very closely, because I'm just really interested in the mobile payment space, and San Francisco is a real breeding ground for a lot of this stuff. So he sort of fascinates me just because I think that he's a visionary and works for interesting companies. But, there was also a recent 60 Minutes interview just a few weeks ago, which is a program here in the U.S., on Jack Dorsey. It was about 17-minute or so, sort of not an expose, but just sort of like into the mind of this man who's a creative genius, and it's really sort of he's kind of become this. Because I think, and Amber, I don't know if you watched this interview or not.
I watched a little bit of it.
Yeah, so he comes across as, he's good looking, he's sort of mild mannered, he's sort of soft spoken. He says things like, "I don't have an office because I just sit with everybody else, and when we need to think about new products, we take long walks outside and look at the Golden Gate Bridge, and he's kind of got this. I can see this sort of cult figure type of a thing brewing, which
superhero.
I think, yeah, it kind of plays into this whole comic book thing because he stands out as a unique person, and sure, he's not the only leader who stands out in that way, but it's sort of, there's something about Jack Dorsey that makes him feel like an unlikely superhero, I guess, to me anyway.
Yeah, so it's kind of fun. Basically, I think you were able to buy that particular comic book on, if you have a Kindle, it's available soon or maybe even now. And it's interesting, it's interesting to see internet culture kind of seep into comic book culture, and fun to watch this one. So you may want to pick up a copy.
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
Download.
Speaking of mobile payments, Amber, what is, what's the scene like in Toronto these days? Obviously a huge city, a lot of, various vendors. I mean, is that something that's kind of catching on or lagging behind?
I feel like it is catching on a little bit as far as awareness about mobile payments and the mobile wallet, and people are anticipating it's going to happen. But when you're talking about services like Square, that isn't something that you'll see around Toronto necessarily these days. But there are other options as far as different types of mobile payments. But really, I think I don't want to say it's slow because I know that there's a lot of progress being made, but it's not like when I was in San Francisco in the fall and you land and the taxi driver's using Square and it's also seamless, right? Mm-hmm. I don't think it's quite there yet necessarily. But I mean, our banking system for years now, everybody takes Visa and debit taxis everywhere. And I only say that because I know sometimes when I travel in the US, it's strange for me to go into a big city where you can't pay with your Visa and the taxi in places like Washington, D.C. That's happened to me before. So we have other advancements, I think. So, but mobile payments, it'll happen.
Yeah,
soon enough.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's interesting how certain cities seem to take to it, and it all makes sense. And other cities, I was in Miami just a few weeks ago, as you know, and Miami taxi cabs, some of them do take credit cards, but the majority of them do not. And I found out the hard way a few times when I had a very angry taxi driver who did not want to drive me around looking for a place for me to take out money from an ATM. So it's interesting how we're all going to get there eventually, but certain cities are a little ahead of others.
A little bit slower. Yep, definitely.
I happen to use Square every morning because I've got a coffee shop near me that uses it. And I'm still waiting for them to all remember my name, because the whole point of it is when you've got sort of auto geolocate on, I can have my cell phone in my pocket and it knows to just say, "Ooh, you're near this coffee shop that uses Square," so I don't actually have to engage anything. It just knows that I'm there. And then I'm supposed to pop up on their system, and it's all supposed to be very seamless. But they don't ever remember me, and I'm in there every single morning at 7 a.m. So the whole point is they're supposed to be like, "Sarah, good morning," the usual.
Yeah.
But they haven't done that yet. So each morning it kind of turns into like, when it's time for me to pay, I go, "I'm Sarah on Square." And then they go, "Oh, okay. Oh, yes, there you are." And that's all fine and good, but it's like, I shouldn't have to say that.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe you should wear a strange hat next time, Sarah. Something more memorable.
Right, yeah. Well, I always look sleepy-eyed. I guess that's the one constant when I'm in the coffee shop. But yeah, no, it's great not to have cash for coffee that I'm overpaying for every day. All right, let's take a moment to thank, before we get to some of your viewer feedback, and we've got some great viewer feedback this week, a moment to thank Squarespace. They are our second sponsor on this episode of The Social Hour. Squarespace is great. So I mentioned earlier in the show, maybe I'd want to use 99 Designs to create some really great header for my new food blog, right? I've always sort of wanted something that's food-based, and maybe it's time for me to take the plunge. Okay, well, maybe I've got some great design in mind, but where am I actually going to host this blog? Where am I going to build it? Where do I start? I don't know. I've never done anything like this before. Squarespace. Squarespace is absolutely the place that I would start for something like this, because it makes it fast and easy for me to create something that looks professional, like a blog or a portfolio, even an online store if I wanted to, sell some stuff, if I was, really proud of these, I don't know, maybe I take really cool pictures of food. I don't know, I'm going out on a limb here, but some people are really good at stuff like that, and maybe I want to sell it, maybe you want to buy it. Squarespace has introduced a new commerce solution that allows me to create a store and start selling my stuff. Hey, if it's good, people are going to buy it. A lot of you are pretty creative people. It's a powerful and flexible e-commerce solution as well. It's integrated to work with every Squarespace template. So you don't have to worry like, well, no, I want to sell stuff. So I want to make sure that I get the template that's going to work for this so I don't go down a rabbit hole that I'm sorry I put too much effort into later on. No, it allows sales for physical and digital goods. You can sell music CDs or how about MP3s? Maybe you're a musician. Hardcover books, ebooks. There's a fast merchant account set up so you can accept payments right away via credit or debit cards. There's a single interface for order management so you can track orders. You can give your customers email updates, let them know, where their order is. You can print shipping labels, add coupons. Squarespace has thought of everything. Squarespace Commerce is included with a business plan subscription, and that starts at $24 per month when you sign up for a year, or it's $30 if you prefer a monthly plan, if that makes you more comfortable. So, if you're selling stuff, this is a very affordable and convenient solution, and it's Squarespace too, so that you know that it's a good mobile experience. Squarespace gives you and your website users the mobile experience that everybody dreamed of. So you don't have to worry that someone's going to want to buy something on the fly, but it's going to look crappy, and they're not going to be able to access the store, and they're going to go buy something somewhere else. Beautiful templates, 100% drag and drop functionality. It's everything that you've ever liked about Squarespace, but you can also sell stuff through Squarespace as well. Good designs, good team. It's an all-in-one platform. All of your website needs: domains, design, development, commerce, hosting, and of course, that 24/7 customer support. Because, hey, especially when you're running a business, if you are actually buying and selling and making sure that you're interfacing with your customers, you have to make sure that if you have questions, you've got somebody to talk to, and that's what Squarespace is so good at. So sign up for a free account. You don't have to use a credit card. Squarespace won't actually take that from you. Just try it out and start building your website. You're not on the hook for anything. If you decide to purchase a plan, use the offer code SOCIALHOUR and then the number 3. So SOCIALHOUR3, all one word, and you'll get 10% off your first purchase on new accounts. So hey, if you want to start a rival food blog where you also take pictures of food and you decide to put together an e-commerce store and you want to, school me, go for it. And then use that offer code SOCIALHOUR3 and you get 10% off your first purchase on new accounts, which of course includes those annual plans and monthly plans as well. And don't forget about those free domain registrations. Food blogs are us. That's probably taken, but you get the idea. For annual plan customer subscriptions. That's squarespace.com and use that offer code SOCIALHOUR3. Amber, do you think I could make any money at all taking pictures of my own food and selling those pictures? Be honest.
Maybe coffee money.
There we go. Hey, if I can make $3 a day
why not?
to cover my daily overpriced coffee, I'd be a happy girl. I would be a happy girl.
It's funny. I just spoke to a group of women who are entrepreneurs, and I just recommended Squarespace the other day. And now that I have the promo code, I'm going to have to tweet it out. So, and it's the number 3, right, Sarah?
Yes. So Social Hour and then the number 3.
Perfect.
Social Hour 3.
Awesome. Well, we have a bunch of viewer feedback in this section of the show, and I have to say that our voicemail is my favorite. If you remember on a past episode, we had a message from Grandpa Chris, who lives in a small town called Fenelon Falls, not too far from Toronto, actually, and he had questions about growing his YouTube community and getting people in the area to participate and have conversations, and it's kind of fun because we got this great response and some feedback for Grandpa Chris.
Yes, that's true.
Greetings, Sarah and Amber. Okay, you can insert the usual platitudes here about how great you are and how much we all enjoy you. I'll wait.
Thank you.
Anyway,
awesome.
in response to Grandpa Chris, it's not to live in a vacuum. Right now, it seems like Grandpa Chris is only in with himself. If you want to have people pay attention to you, you need to pay attention to them and be part of their conversation. Grandpa Chris, or whomever, needs to find other locations or sites on the web to interact with. That way, there is a two-way conversation going on between Grandpa's town and the rest of the world. That's it. See ya. Bye.
See ya, unnamed person. Thank you so much for the voicemail. Amber, I think that this is, even though this seems like really obvious advice, this is maybe the advice that's most difficult for people to follow, because it requires a lot of time and energy. The advice is basically, hey, Grandpa Chris, you want more videos on your YouTube videos? Great. And we had some tips for him. You know, maybe some of the videos that he makes with vendors and small businesses around his town, maybe they can help promote the videos through their social channels as well. But that Grandpa Chris might just want to spend more time in other people's communities, not just promoting what he's doing, but being part of community so that people are more receptive to the stuff that he has to share.
I think, honestly, I feel like that is such great advice. And I'm always giving this advice to people who want to grow their Twitter profiles or Facebook pages, whatever it might be, because I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand that it's not all about you going out there and writing statements and trying to think of stuff to say. It is about you going out and leaving comments on what other people are writing and just interacting. And you're right, it sounds like such a simple thing, but it's amazing how difficult it is for people to wrap their heads around this idea that it's not just using social media as though it's this big push. You also have to go out there and engage. And I think people forget it too often, and it's not a natural thing that people understand how to do. I always talk about it being like a cocktail party. If you go to a cocktail party, you know, you never want to stand with that one person who's talking all the time. You want to be able to have a two-way conversation. It's the same thing online. So hopefully this is helpful to Grandpa Chris.
You know, that's a really good, that's a great way to think of this, is like the internet being a big cocktail party. And yeah, if you talk about yourself the whole time, then people, you're that person. I mean, people sort of go like, yeah, okay, it's all about you, got it. And then there'll be certain people who, I don't know, hang on your every word. But for the most part, you get people who go, oh, I've had enough of you. You know, you never ask about me. And so that's kind of, I guess, a very general way that you can conduct yourself online. You know, one of my problems, and I've been accused of doing this, particularly on Google+, is, you know, all you're doing is promoting your shows. You don't interact enough. And you know what? That's absolutely true. And that's why I feel like I don't have the engagement that I could have on something like Google+, because I'm doing it wrong. And I think that can be said for many social networks, and some are easier than others. I mean, YouTube comments can be hard to hang out in for long periods of time because they're so all over the place. But in general, you can build an audience by being sort of active and proving that you're the real deal, I guess, in a variety of other places.
Yeah, exactly. Just having those conversations and finding that balance between promoting yourself and also replying. So it's not always easy, but I think it's doable. But it does take time and takes lots of energy too. Now, Sarah, we have a tweet for this week from a friend of yours, Matt, who is the CEO of Circa. He posted, is this a new service, perhaps?
Yeah, this is relatively new. It's my friend Matt Galligan, who's the CEO of Circa, which interestingly is a competitor to Sumly, the company, the app that we talked about earlier in the show that was acquired by Yahoo. Although Circa, it summarizes news in a very similar way, except that it uses, basically, it's human-powered. It's a bunch of people pulling from a variety of news sources and creating summaries rather than an algorithm, basically, you know, the robot way of doing things. He had posted on Twitter that he was really happy with his service OutboxMail, and he had been, you know, using them for about a month, and it had absolutely changed his life. And I was like, what is OutboxMail? So I went ahead and looked it up. And Amber, it is kind of crazy. So the idea behind OutboxMail is that we all hate getting snail mail, right? But it's just sort of, this is one of these things that is just part of life, and most of the stuff that I get is junk, but I have to check it all the time because maybe within that junk is gonna be, you know, a Christmas card or a bill or something that I really need. The idea behind OutboxMail, and again, this sort of blows my mind, is that they go and get your mail for you physically. Okay. Then they've got a, you know, basically like a distribution center where they will scan your email. You are able to access your email from, you know, let's say a tablet or something or online. So you can look at your your mail. I want to say email because it looks like email, but it's not. This is actually your mail that's coming to your mailbox. And you can sort through it, you can, you know, look at bills, you can check on stuff. If there's any piece of mail that you say, oh, I actually want that, it's not good enough to be something that I'm looking at on my iPad or whatever, you can tell OutboxMail that you would like it, and they will send it to you in an envelope. So, okay. All right, so you think like, oh, that's fine. Oh, and also for all that junk mail that you don't want, you can unsubscribe to that using OutboxMail, so they help filter that stuff out so you just never get it again. But Amber, you might ask, well, how do they get into your mailbox in the first place? Do you know what is possible? And this comes right from their own FAQ at OutboxMail. I wanted to learn how it works. It says, how does Outbox collect your mail? It all depends on the mailbox. A mailbox outside your gate without a lock, that's easy because the Outbox postman can simply open and retrieve your mail. A locked mailbox outside your gate, so a locked mailbox that you can't access otherwise, what do? You send us a picture of your mailbox key and we can create a physical copy based on the picture that will open something that's locked. And that applies to any lock, not just a mailbox lock. So like in my building, Amber, I live in an apartment building with a lot of other units. You got to get through our main door, and then there's sort of a mailbox area in the foyer, and then you got to use a different lock to get into my mailbox. And I can basically send OutboxMail 2 photos, and they can get into my mailbox. Now, of course, they're not going to get in there unless I send them a photo of my key, but I had no idea that this was possible. Kind of crazy.
It's interesting.
Do you like this idea? I don't know. Maybe I'm an old grandma, but I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't know if I want a lot of other people handling my mail.
Yeah, I'm not totally sold. I mean, I like the concept here in the sense that I think, sometimes snail mail gets a little bit frustrating. Most of it's garbage and could be dealt with in a better way. On the other hand, there are still things that I want to get in my mailbox, and I just, I'm not sure if I like the process of kind of weeding through it electronically and then getting it sent back, even though it was already at my house. Like, it just seems like a bit of wasted effort. Maybe this is one of those companies that's going to pivot over time and figure out exactly what they're doing. I think there's demand for something like this, but I'm not sure this is the exact solution.
Yeah, they also will shred your mail after 30 days. And, so it's really something that you want to be checking on a regular basis. I think the deal is that they come in and check your mail every 3 days. So it's designed to, be fairly regular. I probably don't check my email more than about, every 3 days or so. But then again, I'm usually not waiting for anything too exciting. It's bills and coupons and that sort of thing. But I did see somebody say, 30 days is maybe, I think I'd like you to hold on to my mail a little bit longer than that. What if I change my mind and then it's gone, that sort of thing. So it sounds like Outbox is in its early days. We've got some people in a chat saying, I love this idea. I absolutely love it. If we have to use a postal service, why not make it work for us a little bit better? And maybe there are others like me who still go like, oh, yeah. And by the way, this isn't free. This is the service that's going to cost you some money. Let me make sure that I'm quoting the exact right price. Outbox is...
It's $4.99 a month.
Yeah, it's $4.99 a month, and you get the first month free to see how it goes. And it's a very interesting concept. I know in the U.S. they're talking about getting rid of, we already don't get mail on Sundays. They're talking about getting rid of mail on the weekend completely. So this is maybe a stopgap solution for something that inevitably is all going to be virtual anyway.
Yeah, it's the physicality of all of it. It's the idea that cards are going back out, picking up mail that's already been delivered. It makes sense to me if they had a partnership with the Postal Service and they actually went into the distribution centers and maybe somehow intercepted the mail at that point. But it's the whole, I've put it in your mailbox and then I'm coming to get it and I'm taking it back. And it's just, it doesn't make any sense to me, I think, long term. But for the post office to do it, maybe there's something there. But we'll see what happens, but very interesting nonetheless. And speaking of interesting things, Sarah, a meme of the week. There are no shortage of memes online, and this one is could be the next big thing if you're sick of things like the Harlem Shake. And this was started in Japan when a few schoolgirls got together and they posted pictures of themselves throwing balls of lightning at each other. It's kind of Street Fighter style.
Oh, yeah.
The idea is, a couple people jump and then they kind of pretend they're zapping them with balls of lightning. And I would probably never have mentioned this in the show or noticed it, except that my son, who just turned 4, literally, that's his pose. zapping people with lightning constantly because he loves superhero shows. And so I feel like that's about 10% of my day with him. So who knows, the meme could catch on.
So this is Hadouken. Yeah,
Hadouken.
Street Fighter 2. I used to play this at the Round Table Pizza all the time. And this was the character I wasn't very good at. But, oh, I love this. This is so funny.
It's fun, right?
This is really good. How do they do that? I guess you gotta just take a lot of outtakes.
Yeah. But it's fun. You know, I think it's one of the more, you know, it's creative. And people in the article on Mashable, they say, you know, eventually this is going to go the way of planking. You know, planking obviously was popular for a little while. But I think this is even more creative than planking. Planking was kind of boring, but this has some, you know, a little more creativity there, I think.
I love it. This is it's good stuff. That's a lot. That's one of those projects where it's like it's really fun to finally get that one shot that you're like, this is it. This is the one.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
You get people who are like flying back, but they don't look like they're flying fast enough, and anything that's, you know, bringing back some Street Fighter love is okay in my book. That's
Why
a good
not,
meme.
Sarah? It's very fun, for sure. So that was a good one. And actually, I saw another one. I can't remember what it was for a meme of the week, but I thought this one was more interesting. So next week, we'll have some more memes, I'm sure.
Sounds good. Yeah, the memes keep coming. I think that's something that that we can be sure of. We could have a whole show on memes, actually, but then... well, I don't know. I don't even know what we'd call something like that.
Who knows what happened? Actually, it'd be really cool, too, if you maybe take a photo of a meme like this and you want to send it to us and you're part of a meme, or you want to send us your meme of the week, because it's super easy to do. You just have to email us at thesocialhour@twit.tv. You could leave us a voicemail at 2626social, or record a video, upload it, keep it short if you can, you know, even 30 seconds or less, and we can air it on the show. But anything like that you can send us is awesome, and we are thrilled to be able to share it on the show.
We sure are. Amber also has a rat or fad she has yet to share. But before we get to that, we want to quickly thank Gazelle, they're our third sponsor on this episode of The Social Hour, for sponsoring us. We love Gazelle because it's the fast and simple way to sell your used gadgets. I bet many of you have some used gadgets at home. I've got, you know, I've got a MacBook Air that is really on the fritz right now, but I've got another MacBook Pro that there's really nothing wrong with it, but I don't use it anymore. Why the heck is it sitting in my closet collecting dust? I want something new. I want a new iPhone or an iPad, or that's, you know, the Samsung Galaxy S4 or an HTC phone. Before I get any of that new stuff, though, I have to make sure that I've got enough money. So why don't I sell my used stuff to Gazelle and get cash? So I actually have cash to get the latest and greatest. What's great about Gazelle is that you tell them what your gadget's worth. You go to gazelle.com, Gazelle.com, and you just tell them, hey, this is what I've got. This is the condition that it's in, you know, be honest. And then Gazelle will give you a risk-free offer for your gadgets. Risk-free is nice because they lock that in for 30 days. So, you know, your gadgets they're probably not going to get any, you're not going to get more money for them the longer you wait, right? But you've got those 30 days with the quote that Gazelle's already given you. Then you get fast, check or PayPal, fastly paid. I prefer PayPal myself, but maybe you prefer a check because you like snail mail. Hey, that's cool. Gazelle will send you the money, so you can go to gazelle.com right now to just get an offer. See, you know, pick up all your gadgets, go through your drawers. Maybe you've got, you know, some sort of BlackBerry Pearl underneath some photo frames shoved in, you know, underneath your coffee table or something. I'm not going to judge you. Figure out all the stuff that you have that you can sell on Gazelle, collectively get a bunch of money and go out and get yourself something really nice. And remember, do it today because your gadgets may lose value every day that you wait. Then go to Gazelle, Gazelle.com, enter that information and see what your gadgets are worth, and then you get paid in cash. Payment is fast. All right, so that's Gazelle, Gazelle.com. Thanks so much.
I could definitely use that. I have to tell you, I could bring out a box right now of a lot of gadgets that I could get rid of very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes sense, right? It's like, what are you going to do with them? You're not using them. If you're not using them, it's kind of like getting rid of stuff in your closet, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you could just throw it away, but why not get money for it? It just
Exactly.
makes sense. It just works.
It just works. All right, Sarah. Okay, so speaking of something that perhaps isn't going to work, this is this week's Rad or Fad, and this was a recent report that came out that Walmart was considering crowdsourcing its delivery of packages, things that were ordered online, and they would crowdsource this delivery to customers, just everyday customers. So basically, these volunteer delivery people would get a discount on their Walmart purchases if they would deliver items that were meant to be sent to people who lived in their area. So basically, perhaps they would get enough of a discount on what they were buying at Walmart to pay for the gas money it took for them to get to Walmart. All of the details seem a little bit strange right now. Like I said, this is just something that Walmart has spoken about in terms of considering it. And it's an article on Read Write Web, and the whole thing is bizarre. And I feel like it could be potentially a huge disaster if they actually ever went through with this.
Yeah, I've thought quite a bit about this because there's such a trend right now in services that help you get stuff same day, right? So you've got eBay now, and you've got Google getting into the whole same day service game. You've got a variety of, at least in San Francisco, there's a service called Postmates that I use fairly regularly where you have a courier deliver you something because for whatever reason you're not going to go out and get it for yourself and you pay a little bit of a premium. So the idea that someone would be physically inside a Walmart and would be able to get me something that I'm ordering online is intriguing, but then there's sort of this accountability issue, right? Like, what if the person takes a really weird way and it takes a really long time to get to me, or decides that they're not in the mood anymore and I've trusted them, and you know, are they employed by Walmart? I mean, do they have, can I get a hold of them, and how, and what if they're weird? What if I immediately regret the fact that now they know where I live and they've got a name attached to an address? And you know, this is maybe worst case scenario stuff, but it does seem like, how are they going to pull this off so that it is something that is a convenience and not a headache?
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, based on the update on the article, it says that Walmart has said time and again that they are just considering this. It's something that someone has thought of. And I think it's an idea that should probably be squashed, at least for the next few years, because I don't think that this could necessarily be successful. There are too many problems with it, too many issues with people ordering stuff that perhaps it's very valuable, and then someone getting their hands on it. And it's hard to track those people who could be the delivery people. And just seems like it's a system that could be very easily scammed, and I'm not sure that's something Walmart necessarily wants. So not a big fan of this. I think this is a bit of a fad, you know, just because maybe someone at Walmart thought, hey, how could we crowdsource this process? And then they thought it was a good idea with a few people in a room. Doesn't mean you should actually do it.
Yeah, agreed. You know, there is no Walmart anywhere near me. I'm always saying, I've never been inside a Walmart, and people go, how is that true? That's crazy. But it's true because it's not convenient for me. Walmart has never been a source of convenience, or I don't know, maybe I'd shop there all the time. I have no idea. But I think, well, if there was something that was at Walmart, for whatever reason I couldn't get anywhere else, it still would be, I mean, why would anyone bring it to me? Because it'd be so out of the way unless for whatever reason they live near me anyway. It's just, it baffles the mind, really. It baffles the mind.
Does.
I think this is probably one of those things that will work potentially in a few key places, but it's not the kind of service that could scale. It would depend on so many things. And there's already when you even think about people that are, you know, like a service like Lyft, which is the driver service where it's like, I've got a car, I don't know, I'm not doing anything on a Saturday, maybe I'll drive some people around and make $35 an hour for a few hours. That's a very popular thing to do in certain metropolitan areas. I guess it could kind of be something like that. But even those services, they have a problem scaling because you get all these people that, for whatever reason, it's not really the end of the world if they don't follow through, because they're not really getting fired by anybody. They're sort of like, I feel like doing this, or I don't feel like doing this. And that can be messy when we're talking about outsourcing tasks.
Yeah, I'm really not a fan of this. So maybe they can use crowdsourcing in some other way, but I don't think this is necessarily the way they want to do it. So I think this is definitely a fad this week on the Social Hour, and not so rad at all, Sarah.
Yeah, not so rad. Not so rad. I think the idea of figuring out how we all get more efficient about getting what we want and not all necessarily having to be physically at brick and mortar stores all the time is a great trend. But Walmart, I don't know. I don't think Walmart's got this. I think it's that fad too.
Not so good.
Well, Amber, with that, we're ending on a fad this week. That's okay. I mean, rad or fad, it's you never know what you're going to get with us. But we have come to the end of our hour. In fact, we gave you an hour and a little bonus because this was a very special Friday.
A bonus show.
104. Exactly. It's a social hour plus show. We could call ourselves that and be very Google. But thanks everybody who watched us live. For those of you who are watching us after the fact, thank you so much. It's always nice to know that people are watching and listening. We love your feedback. Please do keep it coming. Remember, we're live on Fridays if you want to tune in when Amber and I are raw and uncut on Fridays at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. And our website again is twit.tv/TS. Amber, you got anything crazy going on in the next week before we do this show again next Friday?
Not so much, really. Just going to enjoy some of the weekend that I'm not working and put on a little bunny hunt, Easter egg hunt for my son, which will be fun.
Cute.
And what else? I think that's pretty much it, Sarah. I feel like, it's almost spring and the weather's great, and just being outside with sunshine is all I really need right now.
Absolutely.
So it's all good.
So Easter is Sunday, right? That's
yes.
How that works? Yeah, I'm way out of the game here. I've been out of school too long, so I never know anymore. Cool. Well, happy Easter to everybody. And if you're watching us after Easter, because some of you might be catching up a variety of different times during the week, hope you had a nice one if you celebrated. And Amber, I'll see you back here, same time, same place next week. And until then, have a great week, everybody.
All right. See you soon.